have another speaker, and Dr. Henry, who has years of experience in teaching and learning experience, and of course, design of digital and e-learning design development. So he's going to be talking about technology, a shift in the teaching learning process. So let's hear from Dr. Henry what he has for us today. Good morning, Doctor.
Yeah, good morning, Ibrahim. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, sir. Good morning.
Oh, okay. Good morning. So, am I good to go?
Yes, sir. You are good to go. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Henry, and we're talking about Technagogy, a shift in teaching learning process. And I'm very sure that we're going to enjoy this presentation, and I welcome you all. So let's look at our outlines. We're going to be looking at some pictures, then we're going to take a decisions on those pictures that I'll be showing you in my next slide. So we're going to look at about two scenarios, 1 and 2, and I'm aware that I have just 30 minutes to make this presentation. So I'm going to be fast, and I want you to follow me as I move speed. So I'm going to be about a tripartite teacher. And at the same time, I'll also be talking about what kind of a teacher are you. Then we look at technology in action. And of course, we're going to look at some changing variables that we need to pay attention to as teachers, especially in this 21st century. Then, of course, we're going to check home assignments. It's not more like, it's not an assignment, but something that we can actually, think about. So the next slide, I want you to look at this two pictures. Okay, good. Thank you very much. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is we want to look at some few things, and that is these two pictures that you can see on your screen. And the issue there is what drives who or who drives what. And if I ask you, some of you, what drives technology? Is it pedagogy that drives technology, or technology that drives pedagogy? And if you look at the first one here is we have pedagogy, we have technology. The us is the pedagogy here, and of course, you can see the technology in front of the us. So it means in this first part of this picture, it's technology that is driving the pedagogy. But if you look at the second picture, you see also technology is the carts, and the pedagogy in front of the carts, and is driving the technology. So the typical statement everywhere that I struggle with is that no, pedagogy is the driver, while technology is the accelerator. But if you look at, no, still stay on this picture, yes. Now, if you look at it everywhere, you will discover that there's a struggle especially for specialists in the teaching learning process, in the teaching learning space. They always want to say, no, it is pedagogy that's very important. Some will say it is technology that's very important. So it's a kind of struggle between technology and pedagogy. Who takes the lead? Who leads? Is it technology or pedagogy? And if I have that opportunity to ask that kind of question, I'm very sure some of you will say it is pedagogy that leads technology, not technology leading pedagogy. So let's move to the next one. So let's look at this scenario. Two scenario. We have scenario 1. Next slide. Okay, so this is scenario 1, and I want you to look at a typical man in Nigeria or in Africa or in our world today in this 21st century. A typical man will have smartphones with him, we have smartwatches, also we have notebooks and smart TVs and smart projectors and screens. And not only that, you see a typical man will have technology in the kitchen, we have technology at home, at work, even the toilet. Some people that cannot even sleep, we have to use technology to help them to sleep. And some will have to probably use technology in driving their cars like that. So if you look at this particular scenario, you will see that everything we do, everything we say, everything we intend to do is already influxed with technology. So we have technology everywhere. And so, if you look at the second scenario, which is the opposite of the first scenario, that if you don't have all of this, can you just move to the second scenario? So if a man does not have all of this, like a man doesn't have smartphones, a man does not have smartwatches, a man doesn't have smart notebooks and smart TV. So, right. So, I was talking about the scenario 2, that if you have a man who does not have all of these around him in this our present day, how does that person live? How does that person cope in our present century? So now the question now is, next slide. The question now is, will it be logical to assume that these technological devices are without inbuilt-in processes or strategies or techniques that are capable of redefining people's way of living? I'm very sure you know that for some of you, you have phones with you that is already defining the way you live your life, you know. So will it be logical if we say some of these technological devices are without inbuilt processes, or they don't have strategies, or they don't have techniques that are capable of redefining the way we live our lives in this present time? You will discover that once you buy a new phone like this, that new phone comes with a manufacturer manual that you have to read through and all of that. So it is that manual that will take you through all that you need to know about that phone so that you can maximize the potential of that particular phone. So technology is not only about tools, it's both processes and tools. So I want you to move to the next slide. I think it would have been better if I can control this slide from my own hand, but no problem, just go ahead. So now, if technology is both processes and tools, then we need to look at who is actually a teacher, a tripartite teacher. Who is actually a teacher? The word tripartite means three things. So if you look at teacher in the 21st century and beyond, you will see that there's no teacher that does not have at least one smart technology. You will say that Sherman in 1986, between 1986 and 1987, said that if you are a teacher, then you must have what we call content knowledge. Then not only about content knowledge, if you are a teacher, you must have pedagogical knowledge. And if you look at these two circles in front on your screen, you will see that the first one, which is pedagogical knowledge, is talking about PK, and it's talking about a typical teacher that say, I teach children or I teach students. That's what a typical teacher would say, a typical teacher that has pedagogical knowledge. But at the same time, you see the other circle is saying, I teach mathematics. That is the content that the teacher is teaching. But in between these two, we have the PK and we have the CK. Now, if you look at that slide on our screen, you will see Mishra and Quilla coming on with another circle, and that circle is called K, and that is technology. And in that way, we have what we call TPAC model, where we say, if you are a teacher in the 21st century, you must not only have content knowledge or pedagogical knowledge, you must have the three. You must have technological knowledge too. Because if you don't have technology in our days now, I'm very sure that you won't be able to cope with the nature of learners or the nature of children that you're actually dealing with. So we need to pay attention to technology knowledge nowadays. Now, the question now is, now how do I go into this? How do I become a 4th century teacher? How do I become an industry 4th teacher? And so that's what will take me into the next slide. That is, what kind of a teacher are you? So if you, these levels are propounded by Paul Baya. Paul Baya is an emeritus professor in the University of Ibadan. That's the Institute of Education at the University of Ibadan. So he came up with 5 levels of teachers. That there are some teachers that are dictatorial teachers. They just say, oh, okay, they believe that students come into that class with empty earths, and so they believe that they don't know anything. They're dictatorial in nature. They just give something, say, okay, go and do it, and they don't want to listen to any students saying anything. I'm very sure you're not that kind of teacher. Then the next thing you see, didactic teacher, that's a teacher that has been trained on how to use pedagogy. This particular teacher at level 2, that teacher follows pedagogical rules blindly. Irrespective, they have been taught to teach, to use demonstrative method or demonstration method to teach. They just, okay, let's go and use demonstration method to teach. So it doesn't have to, that particular teacher does not look at the environment, doesn't look at the nature of students, doesn't look at, what's the needs of the student actually. So, but the next level, which is level 3, is demonstrative teachers. But this particular teacher also, what they do particularly is that they just say to students, do as I say, and say as I say. So they don't allow students or students or pupils or their children to do beyond what they have told them to do. They don't allow them to say anything beyond what they have said, or they don't allow them to do anything beyond what they have done. So that's level 3 teachers. So, but level 4 teachers, deals with interactions, teachers interacting and is allowed students to interact with themselves. So these particular teachers allow students to interact with themselves. Then at the same time, it allows students to also interact with him. But, you know, it's still within the box. You know, the teacher set the rules and the students follow that rule. Say, don't go beyond this particular subject. Don't go beyond this particular topic. Don't go beyond this particular phenomenon. So even though this teacher permits interaction among the students, the teacher will still say, no, don't go beyond these set rules that I've set for you guys. So, but, you know, the best level that actually we can be is to be a creative teacher. And so that is the next level where a teacher will have to pay attention to the flexible nature of the environment and pay attention to the flexible nature of the learners and look at the content that the students are expected to learn and look at the nature, look at the learning style. So a creative teacher is very, very flexible. So let's move to the next slide. So you can answer this question within yourself, that if you, anywhere you fall into, if you are editorial teachers, if you are a didactic teacher, you are demonstrative teachers, or you are an interactive teacher or creative teacher. You can choose anyone that's, but the best way to be is actually to be a creative teacher. Next slide. So now let's look at Technagogy in action. Now, Technagogy is a combination of two words, technology and pedagogy. So, you know, what we used to say is that, are you a pedagogical teacher? Or, of course, if a teacher is a teacher, he must have all the pedagogy that is needed to be able to teach them. But in our days, I think we need to begin to think beyond pedagogical teachers. We need to begin to talk about technology and pedagogy in actions. And so when you look at what I have on the screen, if you consider the unique persona of each technology, you see the videos, of course, you have the YouTube or Django Kids. You can make use of videos on YouTube, text and audio, graphics, animation, simulations, of course, augmented reality or mixed reality. Now we look at the other side, which is talking about adaptive learning. I don't know how it's going to be possible if you don't have technology to help you achieve what we call adaptive learning and, you know, tailoring teaching and learning to the needs of students or to the needs of your learner. And of course, community of practice, there's no way you can achieve that without technology. Social learning is being promoted everywhere now. That's ensure that you bring social learning concept into your class, where you allow students to interact among themselves and they learn from each other, even though they're not from the same community, they are from different parts of the world, yet they are learning. And we're going to have cultural diversity kind of a thing in that particular teaching learning process. Then the next thing you see, collaborative learning is also very, very important. Then interactive video. Then UGC is user-generated content. That is also very important. Of course, the last one here is interactive application like self-learn. So you can, if you want to be a Technagogy teacher, then you need to pay attention to all of these. Otherwise, you'll just be left behind. I hope none of you will be left behind. So let's move to the next slide. Now, the issue now is how do I move from being a pedagogy teacher to a Technagogy teacher? And, you know, International Institutes of...
Hello, Dr. Henry.
Yes.
Yes, in the interest of not being left behind, it's actually a very fantastic presentation. But I know you made mention of having 30 minutes earlier, so let's just assume that you have more than 30 minutes. You understand, and take it a bit slower so that we cannot be, okay, so that no person is left behind.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, because it seems like this is quite a wide topic and is very, very poignant at this point. So let's take it a bit slower so that we can all be carried along.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for that opportunity.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. So now the issue now is, how do we move from pedagogy teachers to being a Technagogy teacher? You remember I said that Technagogy is a combination of two words, technology and pedagogy. Now, the International Institute of UNESCO that has been saddled with the responsibility of building capacity in Africa came up with a model called ICTE, that is ICT Enhanced Teacher Development Model. And so they said that if a teacher must have to move from pedagogy to technagogy in a way, they didn't actually say technagogy actually in their own words. So technology is just a combination of two words. So the first thing they said that the teacher must learn is to be at emerging stage. That, you know, if you are talking about a pedagogy teacher does not probably make use of technology in a way. You probably say, okay, I've been told to use demonstration method. I've been told to use field trip method to teach this particular concept. But, you know, when you are moving from pedagogy teacher to technology teacher, then you have to first pay attention to the first stage. And the first stage there is emerging stage. And this stage is where teacher is made aware of technological solutions that are available for teaching learning process. In this case, you are aware that, okay, there's a particular video that you can use. You are aware that there's a particular application you can use. You are aware that there's a particular product that you can use, like Self-Learn or XMS, like, you know, you are aware of all of that. And, you know, it's not your curation. You know, it's not that you have skills to be able to do anything around it or modify a little bit. You just, okay, you are aware of this. Okay, I'm aware that these technological solutions are available everywhere. And so, okay, that's the stage. So if you are not aware of technology around you, then I don't think you're on the pathway to what they call it now, to technology. So the next stage is that now having identified all of these technological solutions that are available outside there that you can use. Mind you, you're the one that created all of those technological solutions. They were created by third parties, vendors. They're created by people that have that kind of skills. So now the next stage is now that, okay, now that I'm aware of all of these technological solutions, so the next thing is to move to applying stage. The applying stage is where that same teacher begins to use the identified technological solutions that if it deems fit, that deems suitable for a particular for a particular topic that he wants to teach or he or she wants to teach. Don't forget that when you are trying to teach, you are paying attention to the cognitive student. You're also paying attention to affective level of your students. You also pay attention to the psychomotor level of your students. So you are trying to see whether these particular technology solutions can fit into, if I'm to teach something that is within the cognitive domain of my student, or if I'm to teach something that is within the affective domain of my students, or I'm to teach something that is within the psychomotor domain of my student. So you have to begin to make selections from all the, the technological solutions you now have. Now, having done that, you now begin to say, okay, at times you might find it very difficult to use a particular video. Maybe that video was created in the UK, or was created in the US, or was created somewhere, and you feel that, oh, it doesn't fit into my context. It doesn't align with my objective in that particular class. So in a little while, you have the next stage, which is infusing stage. And at that stage, you are modifying what existing technological solutions that, to suit the contextual needs of your learners, define it one way or the other. And so that's the infusing stage. Then once you have modified that technological solutions, then the next thing is to move on to the next stage where you say, okay, now I don't want to modify. I don't want to apply. I don't want to be at the level of emerging stage. I want to start to begin to, transform learning, and you begin to have that skill. And that's more reason why this webinar, and of course, FlexiServe EduSoft Limited has come to help us to, get this capacity and get these skills that we need to have to be able to thrive in this our century. So you move to transforming stage, and that is creating technological solutions based on contextual needs of the teachers and students. Don't forget, in this century, both teachers and students are learning in a teaching learning environment. It's not that the teacher comes to the class and say, okay, today I'm just a sage on the stage. It's not like that anymore. So in fact, that has moved from a guy by the side. And of course, now people are started talking about the teacher being a talent manager in a class. And actually, if you want to be a technagogy teacher, then you need to be able to be a talent manager. Okay, the next slide. So now, what are these changing variables that we need to pay attention to? Things that will keep changing the way we teach, the kind of technology we are going to use. So, and some of these variables are ever changing and they're dynamic at the same time. So the first variable there you see is human needs. Human needs are always on the increase. They keep increasing. Of course, Abraham Maslow came up with hierarchies of needs hierarchy. And in the first one, they talk about the physiological needs. And, but below physiological need that Abraham Maslow talked about, there's something that is very, very fundamental, and that is learning. The most basic need of human is learning. And if you need to get more money, you need to learn. If you need to teach more, if you want to be a creative teacher, you need to keep learning and keep learning. So learning, human learning will keep evolving. And of course, technology is an evolutionary concept. It keeps evolving every time. Then the next concept there that will always be changing is learner needs. Learner needs will keep changing all the time. What students of 10 years ago would need is entirely different from what students of these days actually in need of. And of course, in the next 10 years, we can be very sure that the needs will not be the same again. In fact, there is a particular findings, a particular result that said that what if you are in for a course of 5 years, whatever you have learned on 100 level, by the time you get to 200 level, it's already outdated already. So needs are, learner needs are on the increase, they are increasing on a daily basis. So the next thing is learning styles. That will also keep changing. Some people would prefer to learn through audio. Some people prefer to learn through visual materials. Some people prefer to learn through, animations and simulations and all kinds of interactive applications like that. So learning style will keep changing because of the nature of learners. Then, of course, content will also keep changing. Engaging and motivational content will keep changing every time. Of course, the issue of attention span is very key. Now the students are they have short attention span. So, and that will keep increasing, and that's why some people came up with what we call micro learning strategies, so that when you are using technology, you pay attention to the fact that you don't induce digital fatigue, on people that are actually using technology to teach. So the next one is technological devices. Of course, I've said that technology is an evolutionary concept. It keeps changing, it keeps evolving, and it keeps getting better on a daily basis. And of course, the last one is societal needs. Societal needs keep changing all the time. So the next slide is now that now as you're seated where you are, you can be very sure that some of you have checked your phone several times. Have you? For some of you, I've checked your phone several times. So it shows that we're already in that particular era. So the next thing I will tell you is that go and be a technagogy teacher, not just a pedagogy teacher, but a technagogy teacher. So at this point, I want to pause, and in case there are questions, or maybe when the time comes, we'll pay close attention to questions, and then we can wrap it up. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Henry, for that very, very engaging presentation. Like you rightly pointed out in your presentation, it's very difficult sometimes for people to keep people engaged when it comes to using technology in teaching and, of course, learning. And you find people's attention span straying, and it's very useful skill to have, to be able to keep people captivated and engaged throughout certain presentations. So it was a very, very eye-opening presentation. I believe a lot of us have learned a couple of things as well from this. So thank you very much, Dr. Henry. So we'll try to take a couple of questions, I think. If there are any questions, I think we'll field them now. Rahma, are you ready? Well, before we actually get to the general questions, I would like to ask one of my own, Dr. Henry. You did mention, you made mention of teachers being talent managers now, or making the transition from being traditional teachers to talent managers. So, in this part of the world, do you actually think we are ready for this movement?
Yes, I think in a way we are moving to that era. We're moving to that space where teachers are now becoming talent managers in a way, because that's what we do. If you're a teacher in a class, what your role is. I did say that it might be very difficult for us to quickly move into that space now. But we are moving gradually into that space, and that's why Ikiba came up with that particular model that can help us transit from just being a stage to being talent manager, as a teacher like that. So we still have a lot of factors that we'll have to pay attention to, and we don't even still understand, our learners properly. We have this understanding. We say, okay, once I have this particular concept, that's what I'm going to give to 200 students at the same time. So we're not just diversifying our solutions in a way. So, and to be able to do that, we have to pay attention to some, variables that will keep coming up, in teaching learning space. So we're not there yet, but we're moving gradually to that space. I'm very sure in other parts of the world, majority of them are beginning to understand that teachers are not just there to teach. They're not just there to they're not just sages. They are talent managers. Actually.
All right, that is quite apt. Thank you very much, sir. We actually appreciate that. At the beginning of when I was introducing the webinar, I did make mention of one of the things to come out from this pandemic is if there's one thing to actually come out from it is it brought forward the need for us to actually embrace technology in education. And of course, when you have concepts like technology coming up, then I believe we can be able to get where we need to get. So do you have any other questions? All right, I actually have one question here coming in from Fatima. Dr. Henry, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, so Fatima is asking that technology has a lot of setbacks, like the one we just experienced here, with network and using technology and whatnot. So her question is, can you say that pedagogy can take care, technology can take care of such areas at times, or using pedagogy alone without actually the technology can help us mitigate these kind of circumstances or the setbacks brought about by technology?
Okay, the fact remains that technology is no longer going away. It's here with us. And so part of the problem with technology is using it, and of course some of the things that we've experienced in this webinar, but we have to learn how to manage some of this technology, and the way to do that is to actually look at each of these technology. Most of the time they have their own they have their own processes, they have their own techniques, they have their own specifications. And so, say for instance, now, if we don't have good internet, access, it might be very difficult for us to do this. So the fact remains that technology is not going anywhere, and it's going to get much, much better and better and more advanced. So I think it's high time we began to look at how we now begin to integrate it. I know Prof will talk about technology integrations, how we begin to look at it, but we have to have an understanding that technology is no longer going away anymore. And that's, I think, as teachers, we need to begin to think of technagogy as against pedagogy.
All right, so I hope that answers your question, Fatima, on using pedagogy to actually take care of the setbacks from technology. So Usman is asking another question. It says, being a talent manager should be deliberate and intentional. So he's asking how we can go about achieving this.
Okay, I think the first thing we need to understand is that you know what you're looking for. You have the goal. For talent managers, they have a goal that they have set for themselves that they want to achieve. And so the first where to begin from is to set a goal. And this goal is to discover the talent of each learner in my class. And I'm very sure that would be a little bit difficult, because in a class where you have 40 students or 40 pupils, but no, it has become, technology can really help us to identify different talents in our class. And so if you don't engage technology, it might be very, very difficult for you to identify all the talents in my class. So the first way to set what do we want to achieve with our students? Is it just to give them knowledge and say, okay, that's all, that's what I've been called to do, that I've been employed to do that, and just go ahead and give them knowledge, and eventually that will not be able to help them in a way. The talent they have will not be discovered. So the first thing is, let's, as having that philosophical understanding behind our mind that we are hunting for talents among, in our students, and we set goals to achieve them.
All right, Osman, I hope that actually addresses your question concerning being talent managers. Well, I'm going to take another question here. This is coming in from Hadiza, and she said her question is, how can she engage learners with short attention span? You actually did make mention of this in your presentation, saying that learners these days have a short attention span. And I've actually alluded to it after your presentation because you were able to keep us engaged. So I think she wants to get a few of your tips on how you can be able to keep people engaged who have short attention spans.
Okay, I think I get that question a lot from people. So I think the first thing, I want you to look away from teaching first. Look at films, look at Hollywood films, then how are they able to sustain the attention of viewers? Some students could stay glued to their TV for hours. So how are they able to do that? So what the tips they use is story, the power of storytelling. So humans, we are emotional beings, so we need to begin to pay attention to the emotional component of our students. So in doing that, we need to start crafting stories. We are losing that actually, but we're bringing that into our space, into teaching learning. So we need to begin to come up with stories that engage the emotional component of our students. If you don't get their attention, you can't get them to learn anything. So the best way to do that is come up with stories. It could be scenario based. It could be case studies. It could be stories that have happened that can touch their emotion. Of course. So if that is not in place, it might be very difficult to engage them. Let's just borrow a leaf from Nollywood, all of that. They engage us with their films, with their videos, and we can be there for hours watching. So what is that? It is storytelling. So let's begin to come up with stories in our class. Tell them story. It might just be one-line story. It might just be two-line story. Let's just come up with stories that can engage them, and their attention will definitely be sustained with stories because it's touching the emotional components.
So in effect, the more entertaining we are, the more interesting we get to be, and the more knowledge we can get to pass across.
Yes.
So thank you very much for that very, very apt presentation, very engaging one, and of course for taking time to respond to our questions, and of course give us more insights as to the things that we want to know about this, which is it is relatively new concept of technagogy, because it's a portmanteau between pedagogy and technology. So it is a relatively new concept. And I think as the discussion continues over a period of time, will get to be a concept that we're going to get more familiar with. So thank you very much, Dr. Henry, for actually bringing this to the fore, and for this amazing presentation. And we look forward to more collaborations like this